Good morning, everybody. This is Judith Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, yeah, this is this has been such a weird season for me, and I'll explain. So, I have a sibling now in hospice, and it's different than with my mom, but it's still grim work just watching someone die. And it's so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when they're actually going to be actively dying. And I just had to acknowledge that it's slightly stressful. And, when someone is not all there mentally, but they think they are, is very challenging. Very, very, very challenging. This whole situation's been super challenging. And just as I thought I was clear, it was just like last year. I was free and clear, like I'm no longer a caregiver. And then this sibling started having problems. I had to go to the hospital. And truthfully, I thought that was probably the end because it looked really bad. But recovery happened. And here we are. It was recovery, but not a strong recovery because I think there were 2 to 3 more hospital stays last year. I cannot stress enough to anybody who's listening and to anybody who cares. You just simply have to make your health a priority. Even if it comes at the expense of making more money or, I don't know, that seems to be the American obsession. Just trying to have as much money so you can do all the things that you want to do. But man, you can't do any of that if you're sick or if you get sick. If you don't take care of yourself, though, that's the worst thing you could possibly do because it just makes your life that much harder. So instead of sitting on stacks of cash, if you want to get broke real quick, get sick. Because American healthcare is hell of expensive and you will be paying. And it's just tough. It's really, really rough. And I just had to acknowledge this morning that even though I'm not on the hospice team and it's not like with my mom, because at this point I was, at the end of my mom's journey, I had to give her medicine every hour. So neither one of us, she was sleeping well, I was not. And it's just so stressful and sad. But a mother is different, you only get one mom. And it's your mom, That was hardcore. But the message of all of this is, it's not really about me. It's about getting yourself in good health, taking care of yourself, enjoying your life, because it is finite. And just take care of yourself. That's really it. And as you get older, and we all have our own distinct health challenges, just take care of it. Focus on it. You won't regret it. It's the best investment you can make. Venezuela. I don't know. I know it's about the oil. I know it's about control. I think it probably has something to do with another enemy of the country. Don't believe anything on the network news. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm so relaxed. I don't know why. I just explained I'm not relaxed at all. Hospice watch is not relaxing, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of Donald Trump. People have pointed out that many of these videos where the Venezuelans are celebrating, it's all made out of AI. I don't know what's true and what's not true. I know what I'm feeling is probably towards something that has nothing to do with what kind of leader he was. America has spent a great amount of the last 70 years more low-key than this, installing and dethroning people. The United States has been very deeply involved in regime changes. I understand that, but this is something different. I don't know if it's because he's a megalomaniac that he just had to take credit for it. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to make of it. I don't think it's any worse than any of the other stuff he's been gutting. And I'm just not going to sit up and be worried about Donald Trump and the billionaires because they are doing something. Um, I honestly think most billionaires are super terrified because the dollar is now not being utilized by BRICS. And that would be Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And I think there's another country that makes the S. I can't remember. But those countries are now bypassing the dollar to transact businesses, to transact business with their own currency. And I think American billionaires, people who are billionaires with dollars, are quite concerned. And then you got people with their own self-interests, like an Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel, and some of these, people who don't seem quite as in tune with what used to be the American value system. I think there's been probably a 40 to 50 year assault on the American value system, to the point where people who are corrupt don't even pretend to hide it anymore. Because it's always been corrupt, but they used to hide it because American pride was important. But now they don't even hide it. They're just out here being greedy and ruthless. And you'll see it's being led by people who aren't born in America. They're not Americans. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, George Soros, those people are not American. None of them were born in America. And I think a lot of the foreign billionaires look at America as a Ponzi scheme. Like, let's go Ponzi everybody because they're so gullible. They've got a population that actually believes they're contributing to something. They actually believe they deserve something. They actually believe they're strong. They actually believe they're smart. And there's been a big undoing and undermining of American value and American values. It's like if you look up the statistics on schools and stuff, like our schools are terrible. Globally, we are not considered like super intelligent. We're not leading in anything. People are starting to wake up and realize like these politicians have sold them out. Both parties, by the way. People are starting to realize that there are a lot of people who worship something other than God in prominent positions. I think that used to be more of a secret, but some of these people straight come from Luciferian families. How else can you just wake up and be evil if you haven't been indoctrinated by it for a long time? Some of these families that, like your family was Catholic, these people's families are Luciferian. And they have Luciferian values. And I think they've been able to co-opt a lot of people. I think they've been able to, I would have said many years ago that black people would never worship the devil. But then I started down this rabbit hole of rappers who basically are Satanists or promote satanic thoughts. Like I never put the connection that 3-6 Mafia was the 666 Mafia. That their rap was like basically, horrorcore and, devil worship. Never put it together. Never thought about it. But a lot of these rappers, I actually saw something, and like I told you, I was at work, I was watching a video, and this young man was clearly conjuring something. And I prayed. I stopped the video. I prayed that nothing jump out and attach itself to me spiritually, because he was taught whatever this was. It was very ritualistic. It was very methodical. And he was a young black man who had just committed a heinous crime on camera. And, he even said, it's not about God. He was whispering, it's not about God. It's not about God. And I'm like, yeah, clearly. And he kept saying these words and going in a circle. And I was like, oh, he is not talking about God. He's not invoking God. And so it's starting, well, it's not starting, but in the last few years, it's really begun to dawn on me that there are people, especially famous people, who've been drafted to recruit people to follow the devil and to worship Satan. I don't know if y'all know this, but Sammy Davis Jr. was a Satanist. Yeah, Google it. And all I know is I spent a lot of hours in front of a TV as a child watching this motherfucker sing about the Candy Man. Was it the devil? Was that what you was singing about, Sammy? What the hell? So, interesting. Saying all that to say, I think a lot of people who have a lot of power over how you think are not what you think they are. I think they've been born into long lines of people who worship the devil. That's partly how they got rich. And you're watching them try to hold on to their power, making this very much a time of spiritual warfare. I think that is more than apparent. And I don't have the answers. I can't figure it all out. All we can do is stay prayerful and continue to be the highest vibration of ourselves as we can. Like, it has to be all about love. And when you are in fear, you need to call on the name of Jesus. You need to call God and ask for a hedge of protection. Because literally, people will tell you you're crazy or you're just a tinfoil hat person. But CERN is real. CERN is opening up portals. And some of the stuff that we are dealing with, it's coming from another dimension. And they try to make you feel spiritually insecure so you won't think of it in those terms. Look at all the numbers of times in the last at least 30 years that people have stopped thanking God. They don't talk about God, or the networks censor it. Apparently CJ Stroud gets censored all the time because he always talks about Jesus first. I mean, you can't censor the truth. You can't censor intention. And when people are intentionally invoking the name of Jesus, the energy is still there. And I am quite certain that there are things that we are dealing with that we don't understand because energetically we've been taught that we're not spiritual beings. But we are. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. And so you have to use your discernment. You have to open your eyes. You have to think. You're going to have to be able to tell when something is real and when it's not. When something feels true. When something feels true when it doesn't. One of my mason jars just popped. I make my own juices that I put in mason jars, but I also make my own sea moss gel. And the suction on that thing gets so crazy, and I just heard it pop. That's why I was like, uh-oh, because it's pretty loud when it does that. But the seal is broken. Anyway, energetically, you just got to be prepared. And you got to, I don't know, if you worship the devil, you probably don't listen to this podcast, because I'm not really into that at all. It's all God all the time. But if whatever you worship or you believe is leading you and guiding you, you need to give your energy to that. I would suggest God, but whatever makes you feel happy and comfortable, do that. But you need to vibrate at that highest form because there's stuff happening that our senses can't process. And I think a lot more people are going to start getting sick and dying because they don't want to be on this plane anymore. Like, this realm is not what makes people happy. And I get that. I understand that. If you're older and sick, there's a chance that they're not going to survive. Because this is spiritual warfare. This is mental warfare. This is financial warfare. It's a lot coming down the pike at us. And if you don't see yourself as some kind of warrior, I'm not sure you're going to make it, which sounds negative, but it's not. Because you really have to believe what you believe, and you have to stand on business. And there are a lot of people who are weak. That's how we got to where we are. All these people who took the deal and agreed to wear dresses and worship the devil and talk crazy. I mean, that's how we got here. It's because they were willing to sell themselves out. Oh, I got to worship the devil, but I'm going to get $10 million. Okay. Like, there are people who would make that deal. So you gotta be on the lookout. And that's where it gets tricky with all this idol worship. When you start looking at stars, or you have, stars who you can clearly see have been connected to something that doesn't seem quite right, and you still holding space for them? And I'm talking about Kardashians, and who the fuck did that to Britney Spears? Her little videos on Instagram make me so sad. Listen, I wasn't a huge Britney Spears fan, but I know what life in a person's eyes looks like. And I remember her when she was young, and she was cute, and it was like, okay, good for you. That it wasn't for me, but to the group of people that she appealed to, it was awesome. And she made a lot of money. Now she looks like a fucking zombie. I mean, what is happening to these people? Free Britney, y'all freed her, but look at her. Free her soul, free her spirit. Something is not quite right there.